Welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole, a podcast for folks in design and tech. We'll hop into expert insights, tech tools, trends, and top questions answered by our Design Buddies community. I'm Grace. I'm the founder of Design Buddies. I'm also a UX designer and content creator here with my co-host Maddie.
Hi, I'm Maddie, a product designer, community leader, and ambassador, and a podcaster here with Grace. And in today's episode, we're diving into our design predictions for 2024. We've been gathering insights from articles, researches, and events, and we are super excited to share them with you today.
Me as well. Let's start with a hot topic that's been on everyone's mind. AI, or artificial intelligence. We'll also go over AR VR with Apple's exciting launch of the Vision Pro, UX design, the job market, visual design trends, learning from communities, and more.
Yes, so without further ado, let's hop right into our first topic. Like Grace said, AI in design, which can help but not replace designers. And it's nuances topic, touching on machine learning, deep learning, and much more.
Absolutely. We'll explore examples of AI powered products and discuss when it's appropriate to integrate AI into a new product and feature, and how designers can start learning AI and adding AI tools to their workflow.
So just before we start going that like really deep into the topic, we just like to let you know that we'll cover some useful tools, my God, and resources. And also we'll be sharing some links in the description for you to see it. So Grace, I would like to start by asking you, how do you envision AI complementing the role of designers in the future?
Yeah, I actually recently did a talk about AI for designers. So I feel like AI can help designers. I don't think AI right now can replace designers. I think it can definitely replace like the busy work, like starting, and it also helps as a starting point to help designers if they have designer's block and don't know where to start. So I see AI as like the problem identification idea generating stage as a starting point, and then designers can put in their own creativity to add more to it, as well as like busy work, for example making pixel perfect mockups on Figma and all the pixel perfect stuff. So that's where I personally see AI fitting in. I think there's always room for human creativity, and I think design, especially UX design, it requires so much context from like the user side, the product side, engineering side, that AI currently kind of lacks, which might change in the future. But whatever tech develops, I always recommend designers and anyone in tech in general to stay curious, always learn tools to help you be more productive. And I definitely see AI like benefiting us and helping us in the long term. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the first thing to take in consideration is that AI will revolutionize the design, but by automating the grunt work, the work that it just takes us time and it can be done quicker the other ways. In this case, with AI, I think something that will elevate a lot the demand is on creative problem solving. I think this is the nitty gritty and where people should start focusing their efforts on understanding how to do it better, and also the shaping of the way we design in AI product themselves. Of course, also adding accuracy disclaimers, because sometimes AI might not be as accurate as we would like it to be. And of course, designing effective feedback loops for AI generated material and becoming an essential skill. So basically just switching a bit the processes that we are doing in a way to optimize them. I think that's more or less what we could do.
Yeah, and definitely if anyone's using like ChatGPT or any AI tools, sometimes they hallucinate or say something that's wrong. So it's always good to fact check things as well with a human. So that's why I recommend AI is just a starting point and don't like directly copy and paste from it. But it is very useful if you're starting from scratch.
For sure. I couldn't agree more with you. But I think we could go directly to the next question. What do you think? I think we could see more related to, so we already talked a little about examples, but maybe we can go deeper into examples and just share some other companies' work or ways of doing work around AI powered products that we have come across.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of AI powered products are you currently using today?
So for me specifically, I would say ChatGPT, of course. I think that's the well-known one. Perplexity. It's good for me to read articles that are in the direction of my professional career. So if I have a question about what I should read specifically to one topic, I can go there and read articles on that. Uh, Also, I've used UIZert. I tried that one. Yeah, I think I just used that. I think Fig the one on Fig of course. Miro, I like Miro one. Notion AI a little bit, but I don't really. The state of the Notion AI right now is not my preference, but it does help to uh, summarize some topics that I like to enter there. So probably that. How about you?
Yeah, I actually started using Perplexity a lot because of your recommendation. And it's so useful because I also do a lot of talks and sometimes I want to do more research and add links that are relevant. And I like how Perplexity, it takes in, like, I noticed that when I ask a question, it takes the top, it cites like the top articles cited by Google and gives you a nice summary. But also because it cites it, I can go back to the source and validate it and like source my stuff. So it's very useful. So thanks for recommending it to me. It kind of replaced a lot of my Google search and Google research as well, so I appreciate it. I've also used a lot of ChatGPT 4. I'm a loyal subscriber to ChatGPT 4, and I mainly use it as like a starting point to brainstorm like content ideas. I find that I also ask them questions about SEO, like what tags I should use, or like generate like event title ideas and for like design buddies and stuff. But as a starting point, though, I feel like I use it to generate like event title ideas, like potential post caption ideas, event descriptions to make it more engaging. But I feel like right now it like talks too much. It adds like a lot of like fluffy words to it. So I feel like it's good as a starting point, but I always edit. So that's been my experience in ChatGPT 4. I've also used like Zoom AI for the meeting summary. Like Zoom now has like AI integration where if you're in a meeting, it will like if you like zone out, it can like summarize it for you or like tell you when your name is called, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I've also used Google like the email writer for me as well. Like I have so many emails, so I like to like work smart, not hard. So I just like do the smart compose, smart response as well. Let's see. Oh, I also use like Adobe Express sometimes to they have a really cool text template generator. I've mostly done demos on this, but it helps me give more inspiration. But yeah, I'm very excited to try out a lot of different AI tools because I feel like the examples I've mentioned has helped save me time, and very excited to see more that will help save me time because I feel like life is all about working smart, not hard, so you can do more things with your time.
I don't use all of them, but the one that I'm most intrigued is when you zoom out and it calls your name for sure. I think that's interesting because it happens to everyone, guys. It happens to everyone. So it's interesting to think about that, and it can even help with I'm just getting like bubbling ideas at the same time that I'm thinking. So that's pretty good. Um, I'm actually curious of so you use for a lot of the parts of automations on your writing. Do you use more in writing and how can I say meetings and around these topics? Could you tell me more about specifically of how do you use process, for example, on your UX UI job? I am really curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, since I do work for a tech company, a lot of my stuff is I can't really input a lot of stuff in the public database. But we are like beta testing like an internal GPT as well. I haven't used it too much in my workflow, but if I were to use it, one dream that would happen because I work on products and I work a lot with engineers and they require a lot of my Figma mockups to be pixel perfect and everything labeled. And for me, I am like, I'm not detail oriented because I'm like big picture, do stuff, keep moving forward kind of person. And so I really struggle with labeling every style, making sure all the pixels are perfect. And I just wish AI can learn our design system and like make it pixel perfect. I can design the screen, but I can just like put everything where it is. And as a one click, make it pixel perfect, use the classes that engineers use, and then boom. So that's what I wish it would automate. Um, In my day to day, I've haven't used that much AI just because of the privacy issues and um yeah, so that's why I've been mostly just writing. But I also use ChatGPT to help come up with like lorem ipsum text, just like things like that. And I played around with some Figma plugins that help generate icons, things like that. How about you?
I actually never used the create your own AI icons, but that's interesting. I think something about AI right now, specifically to images and around figures, is that they give too much. When you want something simple, I feel like they cannot provide. At least the tools that I tried, they just don't provide something simple. If I want just, for example, I never tried icon, but if I want an image with a person, it gives me a person with or sometimes it gives error. We cannot do this with just this information. And I think that's another situation. I don't know if you ever encountered this.
Yeah, I haven't used a lot of like text to image that much just because if I want an image, I'll just draw it myself. Or make it myself because I'm also an artist, which I also like have some concerns about AI with the copyright. I think OpenAI recently had like a big lawsuit as well. I think that will definitely be a point of focus is like how do we make sure AI doesn't violate any copyright laws? Because I'm also in a lot of art communities, and I totally understand how there a lot of their concerns about using AI to train on their style. But at the same time, I feel like everything is a remix. Like artists get inspired by other things, but at the same time, sometimes artists would come up with their own style based on how they view life. So I definitely think I don't have any solutions right now, but I feel like it always depends how you're using it for. That's why for me as a designer and an artist, I only like to use AI as a starting point because I don't want it to replace human creativity.
I actually agree with you, specifically to the point that it's great that we have AI and that AI right now, there's a lot of tools that search on Google and different tools like Google. But I don't think they actually show the real personality that we're trying to convey, or we are always evolving and we need to give our own input, our own experiences to it, because humans are not the same today as they are tomorrow. So how can a tool like this know what we want tomorrow if they don't have the information, if everything is artificial intelligence? So I think that's one of the reasons that I think that it will be difficult for the next years for AI to replace us, because the AI is for us, and if us are not the same person, how can they connect with each other? So I think that's one of my thoughts on that, and also that um, it just is a way to enhance the user's experiences and to add value, but it shouldn't at all overshadow the human touch. So
Yeah, it's like giving us like a car to like move faster, but like it doesn't like replace us.
it's like I read somewhere that they say that it should solve always like real problems, improve efficiency, and offer unique user experiences. They should have these three as their ground floor, and then the rest should be funneled by us, by human. I
Yeah,
would
I
say
agree. So
that.
like that, yeah, that those are like when you want to consider like adding AI into a product is like how do you improve a
Mhm.
process? Like how do you make it more personalized and develop a
Mhm.
like unique experience for the user. But there's also the concern of data privacy. Like I know some people, especially like for example your Facebook feed or LinkedIn feed, and your TikTok feed especially, it's always like machine learning like what you spend more
Mhm.
time on, what you engage on. And it's like some people find that pretty creepy, but for me, I might be an outlier here, or maybe a majority. I don't know. But I don't mind it having my data because it shows me relevant information. Like I love my Instagram ads because I get like relevant information. Like get like here's my data. I want like relevant stuff. Which I don't know. Maybe it might be an outlier, but like I like having relevant stuff as well. That's why I don't mind giving away my data for that.
But I get your point. I get your point. I see where you're coming from with that. I thought it was so funny. But yes, it's true. And I'm like at the same time, like I find a lot of webinars or courses through that. So yes, I agree with you, and find new companies to look at. I am not 100% actually pro on sharing data, me myself, just because of afraid. So I get that afraid scenario, but I wish, or I'm going like slowly in a direction that the data that I share online is just a reflection of a part of me, like a small part of me, and it's not my all. Because I think that's a good way to see it. So I like to see people like you sharing that they do it. It makes me more reassured about doing something like that for sure.
Yeah, but I think it depends what kind of data. Like, for example, I wouldn't share my location data or like my address or phone number where I'm at, but I would share data about like my interests and things like that. Like, I think this is like valuable thing. My interest is probably like relevant for advertisers to know. Um, but yeah, that's my stance on it. I might be like a minority, but I like relevant content.
I think you're just one step ahead of us. I don't know, maybe because if you're there's another thing that, so you cannot make a change if you're not part of something that is uncomfortable or different, or that the small room uses. So yeah, I see it like that when you say that.
Thinking hard change in AI with this new tech wave for designers new to AI. For anyone like wanting to get started, how would you recommend them getting started and incorporating AI in the workflow?
So the first thing I would say is to write what's their workflow, what do they do, and then what are the process that they do to each job. And then from there, see what is something that you can, what tool can you use for each specific scenario where you don't have to have your own touch 100%. And then I would start for one tool at a time. Once you are good at using that tool, you can go to the next one, because like this, you wouldn't feel overwhelmed, you know? Because I think that's one of the things that AI is bringing, is overwhelming for a lot of people. At the same time, that is supposed to help us. If we are just trying everything without any direction specifically to our job, it can get really overwhelming and confusing, and a lot of errors without this. If it's something like personal, oh, I just want to share, to try every tool that I know and see about AI. I think that's different. I would see which one do you want and do these different scenarios. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like focusing definitely one tool at a time. I feel like for me, I'm like pretty overwhelmed with so many tools coming out there. But I feel like it also developing your skills for prompting also helps as well. Like I like to read guides on how to write effective prompts for ChatGPT and improve that way. Like for example, using ChatGPT, I like if it's like for example, someone's interviewing for a design role, be like, "You are my UX design hiring manager, and interviewing me for a senior product designer role at X company who makes X products. How would you interview me?" So like doing these like role playing scenarios and experiment different prompting also helps as well, and just also teaching. This is what I do. So like I teach ChatGPT 4 about myself, and I feel like you know I've had some interesting experiences. I was actually like randomly doing this when I was like bored on a cruise ship. I was like teaching ChatGPT 4 about myself. So, as the potentially 8GI happens and ChatGPT 4, I will be like SEO optimized because people are like, who is Grace Sling? And then it will know exactly the Grace Sling. This is like really funny aside, but there's I don't know this other Grace Sling, but there's another designer named Grace Sling, and I feel I'm always like fighting SEO with her, and so I'm just trying to tell ChatGPT about like all about myself, because like the future SEO might optimize me instead. But I don't know, like this is like a really random thing, but yeah. So using ChatGPT, I feel like ChatGPT is like for me like pretty easy to start with, and then I would find new tools like Midjourney or other like copywriters and stuff, and just kind of go from there. But I honestly just like start with one thing and then expand on, and then like write down your process as Maddie says, and think about like which one you want to automate, which one you like feel like very dry, very busy work, um, things like that, and then thinking about what tools you recommend. I also like to check Product Hunt every day. Like it's like Product Hunt is like a
Mm,
database of all the listed
I did
products.
the
I
same.
Oh, nice! Great minds think alike. And then there's so
Yeah.
many like AI tools out there and automating different processes. So I would get like inspiration of like what's trending, and then that will help me get product ideas or like ways AI can automate some stuff. So like Product Hunt, thinking of ways AI can automate. Also like I feel like just like attending events and participating in communities and seeing what people are chatting about gives me ideas about how to integrate AI in my workflows as well. Also, there's one of my friends I follow. She does a lot of like AI and design on Instagram. Her name's Iona, and her handle's UX Goodies on Instagram. I think she designs like AI products for Miro, and then she has a lot of content about AI for designers. I think a course as well. So I recommend like checking out her stuff as well. That's what I like referred to when I was in my rabbit hole of like AI for design.
I like the rabbit hole reference. Good. Yes, I liked your little ramble about the story of the Graceling. Who are you, Graceling?
Trying
So
to get AI
that's
to
for
like me
sure.
more.
Yeah. I know. Why is this happening? I'm doing everything. Why is it not happening?
Yeah, I'm telling AI all about myself, like, cause this is the number one Graceling. Yeah, I know. Like right now in February, I think there's like rumors that Apple is launching their new Vision Pro, and I feel like AR, VR has been around for decades, AR as well. I feel like with Apple kind of going to the market, I feel like a lot of more designers are going to be focused on designing more like spatial design and more immersive experiences. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
The first time that I experienced like real experience of playing games with the glasses were in a event actually, and it was so weird, so weird for me. First, I thought I was going to be sick. I didn't, because it's like 300 degrees and like what is happening, but I didn't. It was like perfect. And so, just a side note about my experience with it, I think it's really interesting. I think it can be a way to be outside the real world for a little bit. I don't think we should stay at 100%, but I think it's a good way to balance and refocus in another place for a little bit where we don't have distractions. At least that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's naive of me, but that's a thought that I have. But related to the future of it, I think that we've been talking about, like you said, talking about this for a long time, but I believe that more and more it will become a day-to-day experience. So there's a lot of tools that have been using this for a long time. People with more money have been using this for their own pleasure for a long time. But I think as more and more introductions to this, to AR, VR, and the Apple Vision Pro, there will be uh, smaller prices, so it will be interesting growth with AR, VR. Here is a general overview of what I think, but I'm interested to know about what you think, because I know you have a lot of more knowledge on this as me. So
I feel like VR. I actually used to make VR games as a student when I was in school. There was a VR lab at my school. I went to Santa Clara University called the Imaginarium, and I had a phase in my life where I was like a junior in college, and I just like hung out in a VR lab all the time because I was trying to escape bioengineering to like get into games industry. I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials, and yeah, I made VR games, and I feel like for me VR, I feel like it's still I feel like it struggles with mainstream adoption. One, because the headsets are very expensive and not very accessible and distributed worldwide. And number two, I feel like a lot of it's like kind of escaping reality. And for me, a lot of people play games. They sometimes like I don't think it's a good thing to get addicted to it, and I feel like it's good for people to be in tune with the reality too. And three, the headsets are very uncomfortable. Like I do not like wearing VR headsets at all. Like I don't like it. And I feel like at that time, this was like 2018. A lot of headsets it caused a lot of motion sickness in people, so that's definitely a barrier to get across that. For some reason, like I was testing my game, I had motion sickness, but for VR specifically, I feel like the main use case I see right now, like practical use case, like there's entertainment, but there's also training, education. Like I actually worked on VR games, trained surgeons to do surgery when I was like a game developer intern at Intuitive Surgical. So it was a cool product I made to help surgeons improve their hand-eye coordination skill in an environment that like simulates surgery when they have nothing to lose because it's just a game and simulation. But I feel like I definitely see AR popping off because AR like integrates with real life. For example, like your Snapchat lenses, Pokemon Go, and I feel like it integrates like real life and also your the creation of the augmented reality as well.
I've been seeing, I don't know, you probably already saw, but the glasses that most influencers are now using, I think it's Ray-Ban, right? Is it? If not, I okay. I was like, yeah. So Ray-Ban, yes, I think it's very interesting. At first, I didn't even notice that it came from the actual glasses. I think that's something. Even the Simpsons have been teasing this kind of glasses for so long. So I think that's another thing that will happen. But you talked about something really interesting: the difference between reality and fictional, and how people need to have this consideration when they are using once this become more mainstream. Because I think these tools will become more and more and more mainstream, and there will be ones with less concern about, like you said, motion sickness, because it needs to have a way to be cheaper. So they will find ways to be cheaper, and like the Apple watches or the watches with digital, something that we didn't know how they would grow to it if people would even use it. So I see it as the same growth as the glasses for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, like for designers like interested in like AR, VR, how do you think they could get started in that?
I would say that first of all, you should know what it is specifically. Go into the nitty bitty of it and learn a bit more about 3D environments and 2D environments, and to see the difference between traditional screens with non-traditional screens, to understand what are the difference, how you can come from one to the other, because it's completely different. I studied when I was in high school, yes, geometry, like the spatial geometric of it, and the difference between both of them is really big. So I would say for them to start by understanding these three concepts: 3D environments, two designs based on traditional screen-based designs. I would say that.
Yeah, like I feel like design spatial, like adding another dimension and learning 3D tools. Like for me, in the past, I used to use a lot of like Blender and Maya, and I feel like they have a really steep learning curve because they have a lot of settings. They're very powerful, but like I would like accidentally press a keyboard shortcut and like not know what I did and like feel lost. But now there's tools out there like Bezier and Spline that make that I feel like after using those tools, I can see that they tried to make 3D design more accessible. It really feels like kind of like a Figma-ish for designing 3D experiences. So I would recommend looking into tools like that to get started and just start creating something in 3D and seeing how you like it. Because like thinking a different dimension was something that I had to learn as well since I'm so used to designing 2D stuff. So like Bezier and Spline. And then also trying out those experiences yourself. Like for VR, I feel like there's also like VR arcades and like places where you can try VR games with your friends, as well as like AR mobile apps like Pokemon Go, AR games, Snapchat lenses, and seeing what's possible and getting inspired of like what you want to create and design as well.
Yes, for sure. I tried Blender when I was doing my postgrads, and I had so much fun. But for me to finally understand the directions, because it's so hard to do the directions on Blender, to do everything to be concise and consistent. So that's an interesting tool that I had the pleasure of trying, and I have a bit of portfolio on it with a lot of with the color purple. So just a side, I don't know. I at that time I liked purple a lot, So I did with that. And also something around, like you were saying, the user interaction in the visual environment, because uh, after testing it out, or after knowing if this is something that are interested or not, I think it's important to see the real world first and understand the environment of it, for them to have the ability to take it to the virtual environment for the user interaction itself. I have a friend that does movies, and they use a lot of 3D modeling and how to put one model in front of the other, which is something that's really difficult because of the lights. So that's why I think that it's important to know your environment to make it as real as possible when you're doing, for example, movies. If you're doing a movie, you need to know a lot of things about lights, consistency, everything needs to be connected. So just a side eye, that something that I've been experienced on and asked a few friends about it that are in the movie industry. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, kind of hopping over to our next topic, visual design. I feel like I've seen some trends this year, like for example, like making more like bright colors, neon colors, which is similar to like what we saw in the 2000s. And like bold fonts, more dark mode as well. I'm curious, like what have you seen, and what are your thoughts on the more visual design trends coming up this year?
So I think the biggest ones, taking from what you said, is the popularity of dark mode, which is something that came from last year as well. The dark mode has becoming more and more gradually popular based on the aesthetic appeal and something related to the eye. So the dark mode helps with eye strain, so it reduces it. So we don't have so much difficult to look at this uh, highlights. It becomes low light, so that's another condition. Also, in terms of battery life, it helps a lot. So that's another plus one around the popularity of dark mode. I've seen a lot actually about the resurgence of 2000 style. Even in design and fashion, it's been growing and growing. I don't know if you have been noticing. It's like the revival of influencers with 2000 style, the websites, even the design in social media. I've been seeing a lot of growing, specifically to the emotional bond that resonates with design. So people want to see unique parts of the 2000s in their styles, professional wise, not professional wise, whatever it is, it's growing a lot. So another one that connects with both of them is nostalgia. I think nostalgia is becoming such a big one. For example, the Mean Girls movie that is coming, I think that's a big one. Uh, it's from the 2000, and a lot of other videos and films that are coming up with this. In terms of website design, they are using a lot of squares to identify the resurgence of 2000 style, with the nostalgia, something related to the comfort and familiarity, especially because we are living in a uncertainty time. So this just makes us feel more comfortable, because there's so many new things, so many new growth, so many, especially with AI now, there's a lot of different things that we can create. So by having these connections with the past, consumers actually feel positive memories, and then, of course, enhances the engagement. And related to portfolio designs, there's a lot about use of circles and unconventional layouts, a lot of movement, like the cursor being in different scenarios. This is something for 2000s, from the first websites, where I remember when we used to have the cursor were like a pet, or whatever we felt like we could just switch it. So I think that's another one. And then we are just moving towards a more personalized and creative expressions in the overall visual design world. I know with the movies, I went a little bit sidetracked, but it was something that just connects, and everything that happens in videos and movies and etc. It just becomes a part of inspiration to our work as designers. So something to take in consideration. But yes, I'm really curious to see what you have seen more, if there's anything more that you have seen.
Yeah, I feel like the reason why people are tapping into nostalgia, this is like what I think about it is people overall, because of all of our access to information these days and humans naturally gravitate towards negative news, they find comfort in like their childhood where when they were younger, when things were like simpler, because in the 2000s the internet wasn't that prominent. And now news spread fast and they just feel sad. I feel like with the world and history, there's lots of ups and downs, like war times, like the wars and stuff. Like I feel like it's like not a unique thing that humans are like they go through. Like I don't think right now is like the worst day of the world, but because we have so much access to info and humans naturally gravitate to negative info, they just feel sad and they express themselves. And I think that is why, in my experience, looking at the whole course of human history, and I feel like also another thing, number two, is like marketing. Because, like, for example, I see like the Barbie movie or Super Mario movie and Pokemon Go coming back. And those are things like, so I was born in 1997. So, like, I grew up in the 2000s. And for me, those were like things I've done when I was a kid. And now it's 2024. These kids are adults with money, with spending money. So it's a good marketing play. And plus, the state of the world and what the general population feels like it's negative because of the access to information. They want to relive their old times. So I think that's why nostalgia is like really popular right now, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like in my opinion, I think the music in the 90s and 2000s are like much better uh, than they are now. And I might be influenced by that as well. I'm also a human influenced by the internet and things I see out there. But yeah, I don't know. That's why I think nostalgia is playing such a role today.
I agree with you. I feel happy that we are going towards that side in terms of like the design parts of it and the positive parts of it. Because I've been seeing that even though, because there was a lot of negativity in the 2000s, but everything that we are seeing today goes more towards the positive, you know, and that's, for me, it makes me really happy to see. And also, I'm a sucker for the 2000s always. I think it's really it's different, it's simple, you know, it's like you can mismatch. That's another thing about the 2000, you can mismatch patterns and it looks good, at least then for us it looked good. I still do that sometimes, so I'm a bit of the 2000s baby, but baby, I was not a baby, but yes.
Yeah, I feel like I like the bright colors and expressions and creativity expressions. Like I've noticed like when I was shopping for clothes randomly, like I used to go to the mall a lot. I mean, I still do. I found a lot I like wearing like bright colors and I've noticed like towards like the late 2010s, early 2020s, a lot of the styles I saw in clothes were like in my opinion boring. They're just like solid colors, like just putting people on to blend in. I've seen a resurgence of more colorful stuff, so I'm excited. I feel like it reflects in like the fashion and clothing I see in stores because of my lack of ability to find things I like. So yeah, I think I'm like 2000 as well.
Good. Yeah, I think at least here in Portugal, I've been seeing more and more retro kind of designs with colors. So hopefully, yes. But here, there's also the side where they like black and white. Well, today I'm black and white, but this is personalized. This is my cat's. So I know people on the audio cannot see, but yeah, but this is my cat. It was a gift, and this is like my name with a heart, with the M. With the heart. So personalized things like this, they're becoming more and more meaningful, and people want to share this. This is a gift. So I think going towards that, I would see something that I've been seeing also around visual design is that there's no more the need to like really need to everything to be aligned. When I want to see something online, I want to see something that is not always the first thing that I see, oh, this is aligned, you know? But then when it's web design and applications, I like to see things that are aligned. Maybe that's the designer in me. Like everyone said, everything needs to be aligned, everything needs to be aligned. So yeah, but I'm going a bit sidetracked on that side. But yeah, I would agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah, I feel like the difference between like a big difference between like visual design and UX design is like UX, you want something to be usable, streamlined, help people like go through the flow, the task fast, and it helps to be aligned because you can find things faster. So it makes sense that way. I'm curious, like, kind of going on the topic of UX design. What are some trends you've seen in UX design in 2024, or predictions you have?
So I think the first thing is also a bit of the 2000, but with the twist. So it's more related to the. Do you remember those websites like Microsoft used to use and that we used to hate because it was just, or it was too much, or it was so slow that we couldn't use? I think we are going more towards those times where everything was square, everything was more more explained. So in terms of simplicity, I think we are driving a little bit away from simplicity in a way. I don't know if you've noticed it. This is just my personal research experience, not something that I read on articles. So I would like to know if you have been noticing this scenario.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. When I look at a lot of websites these days, like on Producon, or like, I remember I was in this rabbit hole of Web3 a few years ago, but I've noticed like a lot of people using like fancy fonts and having websites that are like in your face, like parallax scrolling and stuff. So like kind of more immersive in experiences. What I've noticed instead of keeping things like too simple, which also maybe ties into the visual design, the aesthetics 2000s, wanting all the bright colors and stuff. So I've seen that. I feel like it's kind of like you see like the Apple designs. It's like it used to be like completely flat. Now you've seen some more details and stuff. I feel like it kind of foreshadows maybe about like the AR VR like spatial design adding another dimension. So I feel like these are always like trending. Trends come and go, and I don't know. They're just kind of fun to follow along and kind of reflect on how they relate to the state of the world, and how I don't know. That's why I like trends. I feel like a lot of the design trends you see, like visually play out, they reflect a lot on like the mental state of the general world based on what is happening, what people are thinking, what trends are out there as well.
We were talking earlier about privacy, and that goes hand in hand with unethical design practices because uh, when we come to, we have to think about also the business goals, but also to balance the user needs, and this comes into action when we have to think of what is actually ethical in design and what isn't, because sometimes we need some information that is not directly to the privacy. So how do we balance all of this? Do you have, how do you balance all of this?
I feel like consent. For example, like websites consent asking for cookies, consent and transparency, like what your data will be used for. For example, if you like sign up for an account, you have to check like whether you receive marketing emails, whether it can be shared. So, like consent and making sure people have choices to opt out, and also if they are giving their information, what it would be used for is how I would go about privacy, and also having privacy policies, making sure people like just know what they're getting into and have a choice to opt out.
I agree with you. And another thing is, I think that focusing on the long term user engagement and trust. For example, with the consent that you said, that builds trust. And by having throughout the all term or the all journey of this user that is using our tools, as we need to take in consideration how to balance this with long term and short term business metrics. And this can come by having, today you don't consent, but maybe in a year we can see that the way that you're using our tool as designers is in a way that might be helpful for you if you have the cookies, because it will get a more personalized experience. It will create suggestions that are based on what you want. So basically, it's about building a strong foundation and a long term relationship with the designer, with the user, sorry, but also by focusing on how to have those metrics on your side as well, but also always providing the design lead by a sustainable business success.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's like design. It's like always a balance between how do we make more money to keep the business afloat, and so we can like pay designers to improve the lives of users. So it's a fine line. I feel like I really gotta have both to have a successful product, because more money equals like more impact. You can like pay designers to improve the lives of people, but there is a fine line. I feel like there's like ethical ways to keep designers engaged and spending money, as well as like non-ethical ways. Like I've seen a lot of like dark patterns out there. For example, one example people might be familiar with is like a lot of unsubscribe patterns. Like they make it so hard, like either on the email footer, they make the text so tiny, and then like you have to click on it and then click on something else to unsubscribe. And then like another example is like subscribing to Amazon Prime. Like the have you seen like this, it's like unsubscribe, it's like on
Yes.
the weirdest part. So like that kind of thing, adding like additional friction for people. I feel like at the same time, with data and stuff, that's how a lot of social media sites, they help provide services for free, because we're not paying anything to use Facebook or Instagram, and they need to pay their staff to keep up the services to help us connect. So that's why they have data to sell to advertisers, for ads. So I feel like it's always like trade offs. I feel like as long as people have consent about what their data is used for and have an opportunity to opt out, I think those are the two main things to keep in mind when it comes to designing user experiences that generate revenue.
Yeah, you just remind me of something when you were talking about the emails with spam and needing to unsubscribe, etc. There's a new feature on Gmail, so I guess they've been hearing people that you can unsubscribe and put it to spam, so you don't have to do anything else. So you don't have to go through the link. You just unsubscribe and spam it, and it goes. So go Gmail. Yeah, I found that a few months ago. It's amazing. I'm like, when did I sign up for this? No, unsubscribe spam, and I never see it again. It's amazing. Yeah. So I guess this just shows that when you hear your users' concerns, it gets you to more lawyer interactions with them.
Mhm. That's why it's important to have user research interviews and validate your design with users. Talk to them, understand their pain points, their concerns, before launching your product out there, instead of just designing in the dark. But involving users early on, stakeholders early on, getting as much feedback early on as possible is so important for product development.
Talking about people and how do we also enter to this situation as UX UI designers, specifically to as we be seeing the increase on AI and how we are living these days. I think something that we could talk about is around the job market and how it's happening, what is happening right now, and is it increasing the competitiveness? Is it saturated? What is happening right now? I would love to see your input on this.
I feel like it's very saturated right now, because there's been a lot of layoffs because of, I think it's driven by AI, as well. So I feel like a lot of companies are recognizing a lot of processes can be automated by AI, and so they've been having huge layoffs. For example, I've seen like Discord, Google, Twitch,
The
offline.
50%, my God.
Yeah, which is crazy. Just like in 1 week and like in one day, I saw, I think the week of like January 15th. It was crazy. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with like the year of efficiency, or yeah. So that's why I think it's more important than ever for designers to learn AI so they can use it to their power, not to be replaced by them. And I also recommend, and anyone like kind of looking for jobs right now. For me at least, I came in the job market in 2020 when I graduated college, and I don't have a traditional design background, and I feel like personal branding for me helped a lot. So I was taking every opportunity to do like design challenges to improve my skills, and like talking about it on LinkedIn, building my following, and then like cold reaching out to people, like building a personal brand, like keep doing stuff, build a personal brand, go on networking events, reaching out to people is a way to kind of combat that saturated job market and help you stand out amongst the crowd.
100%. And another thing to take in consideration is right now we need to find ways to show our value in this market with small bits. If you don't have money and need to use, for example, Notion for a portfolio, this is just an example. You can have, for example, banners that are personalized to you, and you can have colors that are personalized to you. And another a great thing about Notion is you can use tricks, like you can create buttons on Notion. You can create a lot of different things to create a portfolio that is free. There's multiple ways for us to do it in a saturated market, but we need to make sure that we show who we are and what our skills is, and that we are on top of what is trending right now. Designers are need to be on top of trends. It's not only the only profession that needs to be on top of trends, but trends are the ones that are driving the business. So in this world, we need to be business driven. Caring about the user or the person that is seeing your designs, but it's really important to understand how you can bring value to businesses and how you can bring to them what they can bring to you. It's great. You need to know, you need to ask, but you need to make sure that you know how or where or what you're bringing to the table, and just have that scenario. A few years ago, I remember that it was much easier to find a job without showing your personality and only showing like, I know how to do this, this, and this. Okay, you know how to do this and this, perfect. But I've been seeing growing and growing around having, for example, if you're having a conversation with a recruiter, they want to make sure that you're human. And by this, I mean that you're showing who you are. Because if they see that you're not showing who you are and you're just showing a persona, why would they want to have you on their team or their company? Because at the end of the day, the person that the work that you're showing, or the person that you're showing by working, it comes from the first interaction that you have with that person. I'm not saying that you should be extrovert. You can be introvert, but you need to acknowledge that you are introvert, and you need to acknowledge that you're shy. When you're shy, it can be shy with extroversion, but that's another different scenario. But even if you're a shy person, it's okay to be shy, but you need to make sure that you're showing who you are. That's just my own opinion on it. Do you have any suggestion or anything that you can talk about with this specific scenario in mind?
You don't have to change yourself to fit into anyone. I feel like there's enough opportunities out there in the world for everyone to have something. And then for me, I'm an extrovert, but like if what I would recommend to introverts thrive is um, like participating in more smaller group and one-on-one discussions. I feel like that is better. And also planning enough time for you to unwind and process your thoughts. Like for me, I would say like I'm like 60% extrovert and 40% introvert. Like I definitely value time to like reflect and stuff. I can't be all out social. Like even though like I love like going out to do events and stuff, I just like balance. And I don't think you need to put pressure on yourself to like talk to every single person, and finding value in like smaller group one-on-one connections. And also like not being afraid of yourself. Like for me, like I dance on LinkedIn. Like that's my personal brand. Like I like being fun, and like not everyone's your target audience. Like I'm not targeting like the corporate people. Like I don't want them to be. I don't care. I want the fun people. I want to get to meet fun people. So just put yourself out there. Don't feel the need to target everyone, and just like find things that work for you.
And that's a great point that you said about the personal branding, because most of the times when we go to the job market, uh, we don't know who we are as a professional or what we do as a professional, how we should be as a professional based on our personality. And yeah, I think that's really important, and we should know this even for sailing. Like something that it was introduced to me from the very beginning was pitch, like the elevator pitch, but in terms of, instead of being uh, related to a business that you're creating, related to who you are. You know, like how can you sell yourself in seconds? Because the recruiter is a person, and as we know right now, the intention spam is so small that if you don't have a strong pitch at the beginning, it's going to be a bit more harder to showcase. Not impossible, it's never impossible, but it just makes it easier for them to remember who you are and you get the job.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Also, kind of moving on to like meeting people, getting jobs, like communities. I feel like this year there's definitely a rise in more communities, and people want to connect with others, especially in person and also online with the rise of globalization and then COVID. People like wanting to meet people in real life. I'm curious, like, how has being part of a design community impacted your professional growth?
A lot. I would say that it's been one of the best experience that I've had, being also a leader for a community here in Portugal and helping in some way the design buddies with the podcast or things like this. I've been learning a lot about the US market. So it's been interesting to see how the US market works and how Portugal works in terms of product design, and learning different ways to open my way of thinking with different places in Europe, in Asia. It's been really, really interesting to see these different scenarios. Even America, South and North America, has been really interesting to see that it's completely different. Specifically to Asia, it's the way they do product design is so different, like so different, that I've been like mind blowing by the way that they work. Because there's a lot of people that work for the not a lot, some people that work for China or Japan that are here in Portugal, that I've been having the good experience of knowing them throughout a community, and they've been sharing with me their experience and how they do their processes, which is completely different. And I think that's really interesting. And of course, there's also the value of networking. I know a lot of companies because of being in communities and knowing how they work without even going to the job process. I already know which companies I want to work for and which companies I don't want to work for. It doesn't mean that I don't like the companies that I want to work for. It just means that I wouldn't be happy there. And by going into community events and by talking with different people in communities, I get to know where I should focus my professional development on. Also, it helps me to continue learning by by seeing what other person is taking a course, or seeing a YouTube video about the professional day-to-day life. They can share that with me and I can learn from there. And of course, there's always like staying updated with industry trends, because there's big companies, smaller companies. Usually big companies are a few steps ahead of smaller companies in terms of trends. So by meeting professionals on communities, it can really impact uh, my professional growth, and also valuable lessons from designers. For example, the impact of importance of user-centric design, because this is something that you're always growing, always learning towards, and creating like the shared experience with the community. Something that communities here like to do is studies. So they study a lot of the market to help with diversity, with inclusion. So this is something that I've been learning about in communities, but I would love to see your perspective specifically to the design buddies, because design buddies is not only in the US now, it's like it's going around and around. So yeah, I would love to know it.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for sharing. I definitely like being part of communities. Like, I feel like communities for me have in college, I was part of like a lot of clubs. I started Design Buddies because I wanted to make friends in design, and it was during the time when I was career pivoting over from bio and computer engineering over to UX design. I needed friends, plus I needed some connections because I wanted a job as well. So that's why I started Design Buddies for fun, April 2020. And since then, I've grown to 63,000 plus members on Discord and a total combined audience of 150,000 across all of our channels. So it's been kind of crazy to see. And for me, how it has impacted me is it helped me be more open minded, being more curious about how other people think, whether they're across different cultures, across different worlds, different backgrounds, like graphic design, UX design, as well as like Europe versus Asia versus US. So it's definitely helped me become more open minded and very curious. And for me personally, It's taught me the value of learning all sides of the scenario before making a decision, and then making decisions that benefit the majority. On the personal level as well, because I'm exposed to a lot of different opinions out there, and sometimes people have really strong opinions, which I'm also very curious about what makes their opinion so strong. So I've learned a lot about lessons, like from like a professional level as well as like a personal level, like interacting with humans. Design Buddies has brought me like so many cool opportunities, like, and also opportunities for others. So it has not only landed me a lot of jobs, but a lot of like conference speaking opportunities, like paid to fly to places, which is crazy. Consulting, like brand deals as well, working with big brands such as like Adobe, Google, Figma, and more. And I also continue to like post about my experiences on LinkedIn. So the LinkedIn community has helped me a lot too. So yeah, it's been really fun. And then also what makes me keep going on Design Buddies is the impact I'm able to drive. I've seen people like land jobs, and people from developing nations access resources and the connections that they otherwise would not have through Design Buddies. So I find that really fun and fulfilling. And for me, I'm also a designer. I love UX design, and I think everything is iterative. I always like love trying new things, experimenting, seeing what happens, because honestly, like, it's like we're not owned by anyone, so we have nothing to lose. So I'm always like freely experimenting as long as it's not harming anyone. I'm like, all right, let's go. And at least for me, I'm like the opposite of a perfectionist, so I just do it. Like I don't really care. Like it could either go up or down. Whatever happens, I'll learn something and have fun along the way. And I feel like my curiosity and sheer just doing it and not thinking too much and seeing what happens is how it kept growing and impacting so many people too.
And I'm so glad that you did it. So that's how I found you. So so yes, and I think that is something that is growing and will continue to grow throughout many years. And this year specifically, I've seen a lot of growth in community wise. So that's amazing. But we are nearing the end of the episode, and I think something that we'd like to share is a lesson we've learned on our design careers. From my side, I think I would just focus on two things. Is there's a lot of exciting trends and technologies coming in 2024, and I'm personally really interested in knowing more and more about it. But it's also important to focus that on creativity and efficiency, and this can mean different things for different people. Just try to see what it means for you specifically. Stay updated on this design and tech environments by going to communities. It can be online or in person, preferably in person if possible for you, if not online. But just talk with people, see what they're doing. Like Grace said, if you don't feel comfortable with a lot of people, with a big crowd, just do one-on-ones, but find a way to increase your knowledge and increase your environment around you towards a really good growth, or attend webinars, follow industry leaders like Grace, follow Grace, and just continuously experience with new tools and techniques, I would say. And specifically to a lesson that I've learned is that um, everything that you do has an impact, that's for sure. But the the bigger you give importance to some scenarios in your life, specifically to what you do, the bigger they become. So make sure to know which ones need more your attention and which one don't need those big attention, and it will help you a lot in your life. How about you?
I feel like just the importance of being open minded, like listening to opinions that are much different than yours to understand where people are coming from. Like listening to understand instead of listening to respond has helped me like in life and also in design. And just like keep improving on your craft and then telling people about it, and being part of communities also helps learn from each other as well. And also trying new things, like yeah, we're designers, but I feel like we're also humans, and learning, not just like living on the screen, but like traveling and hanging out with friends. Having real life experiences helps you become inspired. So inspiration as a designer can come from your life, doing new things, not always have to be on the screen all the time. So living a balanced, happy life, learning from all perspectives is how I feel like how I was able to grow the most in my career. Thank you all so much for joining us for Down the Rabbit Hole. If you would like to be a guest or have some topic suggestions, make sure to fill out the form below. And we can't wait to see what 2024 brings to you.